Hey there, this is Niels Beardfoot, and today we are making a skull mask from leather. Get your pattern printed, cut it out, and transfer it onto the leather and cut out that too. To make cutting out the inner corners, especially around the teeth, easier, use a hole punch to punch some holes in exactly these. Also, a thin blade like this one makes it very much easier to cut those out. With a beveler, we can now bevel all the edges to break them and prepare them later on for burnishing. And yes, you also need to do this for the teeth. We're using 2.5mm or 6-ounce wedge tan leather here, and wedge tan leather can be moistened and then embossed, and that's what we do here. We also need some actual round holes and sewing holes, and now is a good time to punch them. With the stylus, you can transfer the lines from the pattern on the leather and then use a beveler to go along these lines. You also can cut them with a swivel knife first, but here it's not necessarily needed. I use my trusty stone to hammer in some rough edge texture. If you want to, while still moist, you can already start to bend it a little bit into shape, but not necessarily needed to be perfect right now. Now we can start dyeing, and here I start with a teal base coat. After this, I use some dark blue with the airbrush and go along the edges. And after this, also with some black. Some high grip sandpaper is a fantastic way to create some little highlights, especially when you use an airbrush. You remove some of the darker dyes that you put on, and then you get this nice look. As protective layer, apply some leather finish here. Also put it on the edges so you can use the moisture for burnishing. If you also put it on the flash side, it stiffens out the leather a little bit. And here's something that we actually want. So we just made the jar, but let me show you all the other pieces that we also need. We have also this additional jar piece. It will be sewn on here like this. Also got these huge halos, this upper jar piece and the skull part. Here we got these big 5mm round holes, and on those we want to put on some loops. They will be on the back of the head in the end and is where the skull mask will be closed. We also want to harden and shape the pieces. So we put them in hot water for about 5 to 15 minutes. I use the hottest that comes over my tap, works very well. For the jar, you mostly want to bend in the lower sewing edge and give it the more jar-like shape, the roundish part, you know. Similar here on the other part of the jar, bend the sewing edge up. For the upper jar, you want to bend in these eye socket parts here and press them out at the same time and bend in the teeth. Also, these lashes need to face up. On the nose, you want to turn them and face them together like this. And we got this little thorn here in the center of the nose. This needs to be bent outwards because that's where your nose is going to be in the end and you need some room there. Now we can start to assemble and start here with the lower jaw and we sew on the other part to give it its shape. Keep in mind that the shape of all the pieces does not need to be perfect yet. You can also in the end come back and reshape it. The jar is ideally sewn when still a little bit moist, so after it you can shape it and put it also on your actual jar to make it fit exactly. To attach it to your head, we got these stretchy rubber fabric bands. You just get them, fold the ends over and rivet them to one side. And then measure exactly how long they need to be to fit very well. And before you rivet them in place, make sure they are not twisted. The lower strap is going to be going around your neck and the other one is going to over, not on, like over the ears around the skull. For the skull we got a bunch of these gaps here that we want to close by sewing and this will give it its shape. Especially for difficult edges like this one here, it makes sense to moisten them first. Now the next part is a bit tricky, sewing on the upper jar. We got this part here and we want to sew it on the back and then bend the slash up and sew it along the line. On this nose we want to sew them close to the two parts to each other and then sew it to the skull. And here it's super important to moisten the sewing edge first. Now is a good and actually the almost last chance to moisten and shape this part. So do exactly that. Moisten it and then also again shape the skull to fit exactly to your face. And especially here around the nose, it's very important. You have little room, so make sure this does fit you as good as possible and is comfortable to wear. Once the electronics are in, it's a bit difficult more, but you still can re-moisten certain parts to make them fit you better. Next we're going to put on our LED strips. And you don't need to necessarily do this, but I want to do this. So I put on some translucent LED foam. This will diffuse the light a bit more and you won't that easily be able to see the individual LEDs. And we're just going to sew both parts on these big round holes all over the skull. Double check that your LEDs are working before you proceed. Now we can sew on the halo. And we got this long sewing line all over the skull. Actually twice of them on both sides of the LEDs. And that's where we're going to put on the halos. To close the gap on the back of the skull a little bit more, we use some flexible, thinner fabric rubber band. So it will hold on close, but it still can be opened there. For the glowing part of the halo, we got different options. You can use acrylic glass, but you need a laser for this, so most people don't have that. But if you do, you can use it. Just laser it out, finish the edges, wash away all the dust, and put it in. If you decide to go for this version, absolutely, under no circumstances, use it in lab combat. This is dangerous, because if you get smacked on the head, the force is going to go through the glass and directly on your skull. To connect it, we got these screw rivets. You can put them in and take the glass out, in and out, just as you want, and exactly for that reason. So you also can use it on LARP combat, but with other materials, like this LED foam. That's the same one that I used to cover up the LEDs. It's also cut out with a laser and 2 layers, but that's only because I had it on only 2mm thickness and I actually wanted to have it thicker. You also can cut it out by hand, can put it in just the same way. It looks different, but it's much more safe and an easier accessible material for everybody. So that's it with the skull mask. I hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to let me know if you liked it, what you think about it down below in the comments. I like this skull mask, especially with the acrylic glass, very much. It looks just badass, but I have to see how comfortable it is to wear over a long time. Keep in mind that it was designed with the idea to wear a morph mask in black underneath it, so you won't be able to see your face. But I'm still going to show you how both versions with and without look. So, see you guys next time. Have a great day.